right, everybody, get ready because we are diving headfirst into this wild 2024 election.
Definitely wild, I'd say. And you've given us a lot to unpack here. News court documents, even some rally transcripts.
Talk about a backstage pass to history in the making. So let's jump right in. What's got to be the biggest story here?
Well, you can't talk about this election without addressing the elephant, not donkey, in the room.
No.
We've got an incumbent president facing some serious legal trouble.
Yeah, President Trump is staring down 34 felony counts. That's got to be a first, right?
Absolutely. It's unprecedented to have any president sitting or former facing felony charges. It's a really big deal.
And those charges could have huge repercussions, not just for Trump, but for the presidency as a whole.
No doubt. And those 34 counts, they all stem from this hush money payment made to Stormy Daniels back in 2016.
Oh, right, the adult film star.
Exactly. Prosecutors are saying that Trump falsified business records to hide that payment. And that's where the felony charges come in.
So it's not just about the payment itself, it's about the alleged cover-up.
Right. It all boils down to intent. Did he knowingly manipulate these records to break the law? That's the million-dollar question. And speaking of money...
You're going to mention that $355 million penalty he's facing?
To bring it up. That civil fraud case is no joke. A judge ruled that he and his company basically inflated the value of their properties to mislead lenders and tax authorities.
So basically lying about how much his properties were actually worth.
And not just a little white lie either. The court found a pattern of deception going back years.
Wow. So we've got potential criminal charges, a massive financial penalty, and all this while he's running for re-election.
You said it. It's a lot to handle. And on top of all that, you've got the January 6th investigation still looming in the background.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms we can unpack another time. So with all this baggage, who's Trump even up against?
Well, his opponent is none other than Vice President Kamala Harris, leading the Democratic ticket. But here's where things get interesting. She's pulling in endorsements from some very unexpected places.
Don't tell me Republicans.
You got it. And not just any Republicans.
Right.
We're talking big names with ties to previous Republican presidents.
Like who?
Liz Cheney, for one. Daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. She's been very vocal about her issues with Trump and his impact on democracy, which is a big part of why she's backing Harris.
Wow, crossing party lines like that. You got to wonder what's making other Republicans jump ship, too.
It's complicated. But one thing's for sure. There's a growing rift within the Republican Party, and it could have major consequences not just for this election, but for the future of American politics.
It feels like this election is about way more than just who's going to be president.
Yeah, it really does cut to the core of some major divisions in this country.
Like that whole House divided thing, you know?
Exactly. And the source material really drives that point home.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in who's endorsing who, but also in the hot-button issues dominating the conversation. Immigration, the economy, abortion. It's like everyone's picking a side.
And some people are feeling pretty on edge about it all, too.
Absolutely. And those anxieties, they're finding a voice in the campaigns themselves.
Oh.
Trump's rhetoric in particular has been really interesting. He's still hammering that point that the 2020 election was rigged.
Yeah.
And get this, he's actually proposing some pretty big change to how we vote.
Oh, like what?
Well, he's been pushing for stricter voter ID laws and limiting mail-in voting, which has sparked a lot of debate.
Right, because that could discourage certain groups from voting, those who might not have specific forms of ID or who aren't familiar with voting by mail.
Exactly. It's a huge point of contention. Critics argue that these measures could disproportionately impact minorities and low-income communities.
Which ties into that whole issue of voter suppression, something that's been a concern for a long time now.
Absolutely. And it speaks to this broader theme we keep seeing, a distrust in institutions, a feeling that the system is rigged against everyday people.
So we've got a divided nation, controversial campaign promises, and all these legal battles as a backdrop. It's almost like we're living in a political thriller.
And it gets even more intense when you look at Trump's stance on immigration.
How so?
His rhetoric has escalated. He keeps using this phrase, the enemy within.
The enemy within. That sounds ominous. Who's he talking about?
He's referring to anyone he sees as a threat from inside the country. Specifically, he's calling out who he considers radical leftists. And his language has been quite inflammatory, even suggesting at one point that the military might be needed to handle this so-called enemy.
Hold on. Is he seriously talking about using the military against American citizens? That seems like crossing a line.
It's definitely raised eyebrows. A lot of people see it as a way to incite fear and division for political gain. And it's not just talk, either. Trump has also hinted at the possibility of pardoning those involved in the January 6th riot if he's reelected.
Wait, what? After everything that happened? That's a bold move, even for him.
It's definitely adding fuel to the fire. On the other side, you've got Harris trying to strike a different tone, emphasizing unity and a break from the chaos.
Huh.
But will it resonate with voters? That's the big question.
Will they be drawn to her message of unity or swayed by Trump's promises of economic prosperity and a return to greatness? It's a tough call.
It really is. And this is where things get even more complicated. Because how do you cut through all the noise and figure out what's really going on? Especially when you've got misinformation spreading like wildfire.
It's true. It's like you need a degree in media literacy just to understand what's real and what's not these days. And that brings us to a really interesting example of this. Springfield, Ohio.
Springfield? What's happening there?
Springfield, Ohio. It's almost like a microcosm of everything we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a small town that's suddenly front and center in this whole election drama.
Love it.
And it all stems from these wild accusations coming from Trump and his running mate.
Wild how? Fill me in.
Well, they're claiming that Haitian immigrants in Springfield are behind a bunch of pet thefts.
Okay, pet thefts are bad news, but how does that become a national story?
Because, get this, they're also saying that these stolen pets are being eaten.
Hold up. You're saying they're accusing Haitian immigrants of eating people's pets? Seriously?
It sounds crazy, right? But the impact has been really serious. We're talking bomb threats against the Haitian community schools having to close down, all because of these baseless claims.
That's insane. It's like a textbook example of how misinformation can spiral out of control.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. Local officials, including the Republican governor of Ohio, have come out and said there's zero evidence to support any of this.
So even people in his own party are calling him out on it, yet these stories persist.
That's the thing. Despite the lack of evidence, despite the pushback, these claims keep circulating, fueled by social media, amplified by people in positions of power.
It's a scary thought. It makes you realize how important it is to be really careful about what you believe, especially during an election.
Absolutely. So as we head into these last few weeks before November, what's the biggest takeaway from all of this? What should people keep in mind?
Well, for me, it's that this election is about so much more than just choosing a president. It's about grappling with these huge divisions in our country.
100%. And navigating this incredibly complex web of information and misinformation.
We're bombarded with news and opinions from every direction, and it can be tough to know what to believe.
Exactly. So we have to be willing to question things,
Right.
to think critically, to be informed and engaged citizens.
Because ultimately, the future is in our hands. We shape it with the choices we make every day, including who we vote for.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Hopefully you found it insightful and maybe even a little eye-opening.
And if it got you thinking or even sparked some debate along the way, then that's a good thing, because that's what it's all about. Engaging with the issues, having these important conversations.
Absolutely. So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.